Hi there, my name's Reagan Harper, and I'm going to be talking to you today about TikTok as an information source. This presentation will provide you with an overview of what TikTok is and who's using it, a bit of information on how people are searching on TikTok and how we can incorporate TikTok into an academic setting, some details on the type of information that is being shared on TikTok and why people are using TikTok as a way to learn information, and then a brief overview of the current ongoing legislation around TikTok. So TikTok was created in 2016 and it merged with a different app called Musical.ly in 2018. Once it had that merger, TikTok actually became incredibly popular in the United States. As of 2022, TikTok had 1.4 billion active users, and that number has likely increased since then. When looking at who's using TikTok, it is primarily younger generations. It is our Gen Z, Gen Alpha, and millennials. And studies have been done over the last few years to try to determine what types of social media and what types of content these generations are learning from. So the Pew Research Center found that in 2022, 67% of teenagers had been using TikTok. 95% used YouTube, and that was the only social media with a higher percentage than TikTok. But most of our other forms of social media actually had a decrease. So we can see that people are preferring video and image-based social media nowadays over text-based social media like Facebook or Twitter/X. So briefly looking at TikTok, each post on TikTok contains an audio file, videos, or photos. They can be edited either in the app or before being placed into the app, and then you can attach a caption and hashtags to it. The confusing part with TikTok is the audios, just because you don't have to own the audio to use it. So the audio of a TikTok can either be uploaded by the user, recorded by the user in the app, or be selected from an audio library that TikTok itself has. Now, when people are searching on TikTok, they have two main ways they can kind of search. They have a general search bar, which is similar to the basic search on many databases. And then they have suggested searches. So when you're looking at the general search bar, you will see suggested searches based off of what you've recently viewed, other things you have searched, and what's popular right now. But the weird suggested searches is actually the suggested searches per video. So you can see in the center of the poster is a suggested search for Sabrina Carpenter new album. This search actually popped up at the bottom of a video talking about baby names. Now this search doesn't seem to have anything to do with the baby names the person was talking about, because this suggested search is generated not by the video, but based off the comments on the video. This is very community-oriented and can sometimes be very helpful, and sometimes it can give you the completely wrong search. In this case, it is not a useful search. It is a search relevant to what the crowd was talking about in the comments, not to the video itself. The last kind of aspect of searching on TikTok is search limiters. There are no search limiters on TikTok, so this is a completely unfamiliar term for people when they're looking at things like databases and other search engines. So just something to keep in mind that you're going to have to introduce search limiters as an entirely new concept. The next bit I wanted to talk about was information on TikTok. Information on TikTok is usually shared as quick facts or statements. The videos on TikTok can range from 3 seconds to 3 minutes if you've recorded in TikTok, and up to 10 minutes if you've recorded a video outside of TikTok and upload it. Generally, people are not watching videos over a minute long, though. You really have that 3 second to 10 second time frame to try to catch people's attention. So people are only going to share very short facts. They're going to share an overview of a news story or just share some community knowledge, something that's brief and succinct. For TikTok in the classroom, I've really leaned on this quote from J.P. King at the University of Toronto when trying to explain this concept to people. But we've already introduced YouTube videos in the classroom. We introduced YouTube videos in the classroom years ago. So the idea here is, if watching YouTube is like sitting in a lecture, then using TikTok is having a conversation. These are different forms of communicating, and they need to be treated as different. So some suggestions we had for using TikTok in the classroom is using video examples instead of just text examples. You could create assignments that require students to create a video, and then we should also adjust our language and research suggestions to fit the terms they're expecting. So again, we can go back to the example of search limiters. That's not a term someone who is primarily searching in TikTok is expecting. The last bit I want to talk with you all about is the ongoing legislation. I know this is one of the big concerns of TikTok and incorporating it into librarianship is the possibility of doing all this work and then it just being banned. From the legal precedents we've seen around TikTok bans, I personally don't believe that's the biggest concern to have, but let's go into that. So right now, the current ban is the Protecting Americans from Foreign Adversary Controlled Applications Act. This is kind of a revised version of the Restrict Act from 2023 that did not get passed. But the Protecting Americans Act is focusing on just applications on your phone. And specifically, it names TikTok and the company that owns it, ByteDance. So it's really honing in on the fact that TikTok is what they want to ban, but this act could be used to ban other applications on your smartphone. So this act did pass on April 24th, 2024. And immediately following that, on May 7th, 2024, ByteDance, the company that owns TikTok, filed a lawsuit with the U.S. Court of Appeals. This case has not been seen yet by the Court of Appeals, and no ruling has been made, but the precedent we can actually look to is for Minnesota. So the state of Minnesota attempted to ban TikTok in 2023. Their law would have stated that TikTok would have been banned as of January 1st, 2024. Once that law went into place, ByteDance immediately sued them, and it was appealed. So we do have this precedent that these types of acts or laws are just not going through, but at the moment it is a little bit up in the air as we wait for the Court of Appeals to give their decision. While this presentation is primarily based around teenagers and their use of TikTok, it is essential for all librarians to understand how video-based social media is influencing our use of data and information. Video-based social media is no longer limited to TikTok. Many dominant social media applications are also adopting this form of sharing content, including Facebook and Instagram. So we're going to start seeing this impacting all age groups, not just teenagers. Thank you so much for listening today, and feel free to reach out if you ever have any questions.